This is Dental All-Stars, where we bring you the best in dentistry on marketing, management, and training. Here's your host, Alex Nottingham.
Welcome to another edition of Dental All-Stars. I'd like to share with you an excerpt of an expert webinar that I did with Dr. Ace Goerig titled Effortless and Profitable Dentistry Leading to Financial Freedom. So welcome to our expert webinar and welcome to our expert. Our speaker today is Dr. Ace Goerig, who is a nationally known speaker on practice management, endodontics, and creating financial freedom. He has been a practicing dentist for over 46 years and specializes in endodontics. Dr. Goerig has created a website, debtfreedentist.com, to help dentists quickly become debt-free and understand safe investing. He will share with us today the true secrets of obtaining financial freedom quickly while creating an office that is fun, effortless, and highly profitable. Dr. Goerig is a great person, a financial expert, and also very, very big and strong on mindset and work-life balance. Let's all welcome Dr. Ace Goerig.
Well, thank you a lot, Alex. This is going to be fun. When we talk about financial and personal freedom, it's really about your freedom. It's about freedom in your practice. It's about freedom in your relationships, whether it's with your patients, your team, your family, and really just freedom in life. And what you're going to find is once you're debt-free, which most people could actually be debt-free in 5 to 7 years just by modifying a few things in their practice, you'll find that what else is there to do? How much do you really need to work? And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But there are 6 secrets to financial freedom, and I'm going to go through each one of those. The first secret of financial freedom is to really use your debt to make over 100% return your money guaranteed without risk. It is amazing people will try to make 10% in the market when they could make 100% return just by paying off debt. And once you understand this concept, you look at paying off debt differently. Now, my recommendation is you go to Dr. Calculator and go to Carl's Mortgage Calculator. And when you go there, you'll see this website. And pretty much, I don't really like the new colors. They just came out with this. But it is a website that you can put in your debt, what's your interest rate, and it shows you how much is paid toward principal, how much is paid toward interest, and that's very important to understand. They have different apps for Androids and other, the Microsoft phones and Apple phones. And on the bottom, you can see it says Old Calculator. I'll be using that. These are the different apps. Just go to Carl's Mortgage Calculator. It'd be a great app anytime you have debt of any kind. But this is the old app. I like it because it's easy to read. Now here's an example of, let's say your house, your practice, you owe $300,000 and it's a 30-year mortgage. You can see that. The interest rate is 4.8%. And during this first month of the mortgage, you're paying $1,574 to principal. But most people don't realize that basically $374 goes to principal and $1,200 goes to interest. You think you have a 4.8% loan. In reality, what you have is a 300% interest loan. That first few years, first 17 years, it's over 100%. And so all you need to do to make 300% return on your money, which sounds pretty good, is to just pay another $375 and you eliminated $1,200 in interest. Actually, it's a lot more than that because you had to at least earn $1,600, pay tax on it just to get the interest. So this is the fastest way to become wealthy, is to pay off debt as soon as possible. You now made 300% return. And so if we look at the yearly mortgage of that same mortgage, by paying an extra $4,813, you just made $14,000. You saved $14,000. In reality, you probably had to earn $19,000 to pay that amount, pay tax on it to pay that amount. I mean, where else are you going to get 300 to 400% return on your money? And as Ben Franklin said, penny saved is a penny earned. But a lot of people, and your CPA is going to tell you this, no, you want to have you need to pay interest because you get it righted off on your taxes. Well, here's the example of this interest rate. That year you paid $14,000 in interest. In reality, what happens is we will lose the standard deduction if you write off that interest. That means the standard deduction is $1,200. You remove that from the $1,300, and now you have $1,700 that you saved. But if you're in a 30% tax bracket, really all you have tax saving is $510. Now, I'm going through these slides fairly quickly, but if you go to Debt Free Dentist, you can take your time, work your way through them. I just want to give you the overview that trying to write off interest is just a big hoax. It just keeps you in debt. And so basically this year on this loan, you would have paid $14,300, and all you would have saved was $510 in interest. It's just a hoax. Now, what's really sad, so the key is when you pay off debt first before investing, you'll have 3 times the amount of money for your retirement. And a lot of people have asked me, well, how about shouldn't I just start investing now? Why should I pay off debt? If you go through the process and you just focus on debt and paying all your debt off first and then start investing with that extra money that was going to debt, you'll have 3 times the amount of money when you retire. It's something to think about. Now, student debt affects, so many people, and it's just terrible. Most people don't understand how really bad it is. Here's a true example of one of my one of my coaching students. She had $300,000 in student loans. It was over 30 years, and she was paying 7.9%. Well, that sounds pretty high, of course. And her payment was $2,180 a month. Did you realize that that year, the first year of the loan, only $2,500 went to principal, but $23,000 went to interest? That means she had to earn around $30,000, pay tax, so she could give the bank $23,000 in interest. Now, if she would have just paid an extra $2,500, in this case $2,700 toward principal, she would have saved $30,000. She would have made $30,000, same thing, just by paying an extra $20,000. This is the power of understanding debt. And as we said, she would have made 1,000% return on her money. Right now, she's paying 1,000% interest. So it's just crazy out there. So let's look at that loan again. If, for example, the principal, here it is, the payment is $2,180, the total interest is close to $500,000, which means $700,000 before taxes. But if you have student loans and you focus on paying those student loans, in this case, you see on the bottom, it's 5 years instead of 30 years. That increased the monthly payment by $4,000, less than $4,000. If you could come up with $4,000, you would have that loan paid off in 5 years, and you would have saved $420,000 in interest. I mean, over the period of time. But more importantly, you would be free. You wouldn't be paying 1,000% interest on the loan. And that's why when you get out of school and you start your working, just basically there's certain things you need to remember. If you're in school and they want to lend you money, don't take only what you really need, because it's just adding up. The second thing is, as soon as you get out of school and you have a job, then you need to refinance that loan, because I've seen some over 8% and maybe 6%. But if you can get 4%, just think of all the money and interest you're going to save. And there's a couple places you can go. You can go to the American Dental Association. and try to refinance your loan, or Sophie.com is another place to refinance the loan. And you should live like a student until this loan is paid off, because really, they're just taking all that money from you, and you're sooner or later going to have to pay it off. You basically, that $500,000 could buy yourself a house if you paid the school loans off earlier. So as you work an associate for the few years until you're able to actually, the reason I mention that, because most people can't get money to start a practice because they owe this debt. But during those years, focus is paying off those loans as soon as possible. And when you get out, buy a practice that's fairly inexpensive. I mean, someone that's only maybe producing $500,000, or you can buy used equipment. Don't spend so much money you just go back in debt again. I may start at a smaller office. I know when I first started, I started in 600 square feet and eventually moved to 1,300 square feet. And I could produce quite a bit in that setting. Take advantage of minority loans. If you're a veteran, if you're a female or anything but Caucasian, you can get maybe 2% off a business loan. Check with your state, and if you're military, check with the Veterans Administration. And commit to paying those school loans off in 5 years. It is your freedom. And then get a mentor to show you how to double your net profit. We're going to talk about that later. But the fastest way to become rich is to pay off all debt before you put money anywhere else. And then when you're doing that, what you're doing is changing your encoding from being a spender to a saver. You can live very well as a saver, because once your debt is paid off, you have 3 times the amount of money to spend, which is actually more fun. Okay, so the second secret of financial freedom, if you have a practice, is to raise your fees annually. And if you're working for someone, recommend that they raise their fees annually. Just think, a 10% fee increase in most practices, where their overhead is 70%, can increase your net by 1/3. This is how it works. Let's say you're producing $100,000 a month and your overhead is 70%. Your net is $30,000 that month. But if you raised your fees 10%, 10% times 100,000, that would give you an extra $10,000 per month. When you add that to your already $30,000, now you have $40,000 in net, which has increased your net by 33%. It's really simple. And it's just amazing how much money you can have by consistently remembering to raise your fees 1, 2, 3, or 4% each year. Here's an example of someone who collects $500,000 a year. Now you'll notice down there, if they raise their fees 1%, you go down the 1% column. After 30 years, they would have an increase of, at the bottom, the difference, they would have $2.5 million more. If the person was increased 3%, they'd have $9.5 million more. And 5% would be almost $20 million more just if they increased their fees. Now, most of you will be earning $1 million a year or $1.5 million a year. I mean, let's just carry it all the way and look at the 5% at the 1.5 million. You will have an increase of almost an extra $60 million. I know this doesn't mean anything to you guys, but I think it sounds pretty good to me. So what I want you to consider, the immediate fastest way to make extra money is just go in the office tomorrow and raise your fees 3%. They will not notice it, by the way. I've also included, and this is one of the things that Alex will have, is this free increase comparison sheet, where you can go through it and have all the 88 codes, and then you put how much your money procedures. You can easily find that out through your administrative software, and then what your current fees is, and then you go through. You can raise them 5%, 3%, whatever you want, and it'll show you how much more you will have at the end of the year. Okay, so that sort of covers that. Now the fourth secret to financial freedom is to get a good coach. And I'm going to talk about different coaches that I've had in the past that I've really enjoyed having. And coaching, don't just try to reinvent the wheel. Don't let your ego get carried away. I tried to do it myself when I first started. It was a disaster when I got out of the military. And I brought in one of my favorite ladies, Linda Miles, who coached me through, taught me how to do monitors. She scheduled me, she timed me, and even though she did mostly general practices, she moved me to a level much higher than all the endodontists in my area. And so you want to incorporate, she helps you incorporate great systems. They observe you, see what your team's doing. It's not so much you, but your team, because they run the practice. They train your team, and they keep you accountable to keep, production the way it should be. So that's some of the things a great coach should do. Here I am on the left on both pictures. My older brother was on the right. We were out by the lake. My father left when I was 3, and my mother went back to school, so the time we had together was precious. And so I wasn't really the smart one. My brother was the smart one. He used to get B's, and I barely made it through. Fortunately, to get my coaching, to have a father image, I went out for athletics, wrestling, track, and football. But here I am at Utah State University on the left, where I got a scholarship, because actually my 2.3 grade point out of high school was not the best, but I did set the state record in pole vaulting. I did learn, to work as a team, and I had great coaches all throughout my career, and I found them essential in practice. Matter of fact, the one reason I coach is to learn. And when I want to learn something, I coach it. It's as simple as that. But coaching is not an expense. People see it, oh my gosh, it costs this amount of money. But it's truly an investment with extremely high return. For example, some programs out there might be $50,000. But if you get an extra $200,000 that year, was that a good deal? I mean, you made 4 times what you invested. Not only that, but each year you'll continue to increase by $4,000 or $200,000 because you have already moved to a different level. So after 10 years, it's like getting $2 million for a $50,000 investment. And I find that with the endodontists I work with, they make significant jumps because just by coming into practice, it is a true investment. I think All-Star Dental Academy is one of the best investments you can have. I mean, I don't know if I knew the power of being able to people calling and being able to get them on the line. Here is a great system to train them and also to understand scheduling. And this is really powerful. You could double your referral, your refers, the patients that come in each month. You're getting 20, you could be getting 40, maybe 60. You'd be just surprised by training your people up front. And Alex was talking about the All-Star Dental MBA, and I've been taking coaching programs for years, but I knew I wanted to take this program because the insight in his background, and I will just tell you, it is one of the finest programs that you can take, and I would highly recommend if you get a chance to go through that process. You will learn to become a strong leader and a person that can direct your practice. It's very powerful. And one of the great thing about All-Star is that they have these webinars we're doing here, and I can tell you I've been through every one of these study clubs and all these webinars, even as an endodontist, and I can't tell you how much I've learned.
Thank you to our guest, and thanks for listening to this podcast. Stay on for a quick introduction to the benefits of All-Star Dental Academy's training program. Years ago, you could just open up a practice and be a great clinician and patients would come. But dentistry is changing in a big way. How do you stay competitive? You have to improve your practice's customer service skills. But you retain little from seminars, and having someone come to your office can be expensive. So what's the answer? All-Star Dental Academy. We put practice management training online available 24/7 in a systematic, done-for-you process that just works. It is the most comprehensive online training program in the industry. Don't take our word for it. We are partners and member benefits with a variety of leading industry groups. Unfortunately, 97% of dentists train their team less than once a year, if ever. Gain a competitive advantage and join the top 1% of dentists that train consistently. But we didn't stop with team training. Dentists acknowledge that they are not great at business. To compete with corporate practices, you need to be great at dentistry and the business of dentistry. So we created the All-Star Dental MBA to systematically upgrade your skills in leadership, management, marketing, and more. Get in touch and let's talk about how All-Star Dental Academy can help you improve phone conversion, manage broken appointments, build and keep an all-star team, and be the best you possible.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Dental All-Stars. Visit us online at allstardentalacademy.com.